Okie, Tansy. Hello, my name is James Robert Short. I'm the Special Events Coordinator for Sik-ooh-kotoki Friendship Society, as well as a member of the Métis Local. What you're about to see is a reenactment of the sacred use of tobacco in the Blackfoot tradition. The Cree and other tribes' ceremonies may differ slightly from what you're about to witness. Only those who have sacred privilege are allowed to participate in the tobacco cutting ceremonies. Roland Cotton, an elder with the AADAC Provincial Guiding Circle and a member of the Blackfoot Nation, has the right to perform these ceremonies because of his affiliation. This video is being made to teach the sacred use of tobacco. It is believed that much healing can take place by returning to our sacred ceremonies. Because this is only a reenactment for educational purposes, the songs that you will hear are not the songs performed during an actual ceremony. In making this video, we have taken great care to respect sacred traditions. Please make note that this video is not intended to be a step-by-step guide that one can use to perform these ceremonies. If you are interested in participating in a tobacco cutting ceremony, please contact an elder in your area.
I was raised by my grandparents. My grandmother's name is Makka, and my step-grandfather's name is Colin First. They were practitioners in the traditional and spiritual ways of our ancestors, both of whom knew the principles of medicine and by every right were doctors. Tobacco was an important herb in their ceremonies, and they would pray in all occasions, more importantly at least 3 times a day, once in the morning, at noon, and just before sunset. They were against me going to residential school, therefore I never attended a residential school. I lived with them in my early years, and it was from this that I became accustomed to the various aspects of holistic and herbal healing performed by my grandparents, especially my grandmother. She traveled quite extensively with her doctoring people, and I traveled with her. There were ceremonies for the various aspects of religion and healing and life itself. They range from naming ceremonies, pipe ceremonies, transfer of medicine bundles, and chieftain ceremonies. More importantly, there was the tobacco cutting ceremony, as this was an important aspect of all of the ceremonies. When the Europeans came, tobacco was unknown to them, and the use for it was not understood. Thus the casual use of tobacco began. What followed was the widespread abuse of tobacco. As for the natives, the locally grown tobacco, the sole purpose was for ceremonies and rituals. Tobacco grown by Indians was not meant to be inhaled and was always mixed with cocaine. It served the same purpose as today's sweetgrass. After the native was put in the reserves, the government did not want the Indians to grow their own tobacco, as commercial tobacco was now being grown. Since commercial tobacco was a source of revenue for the white man, many natives had to resort to growing tobacco in secret, and the art was lost to those who had the right to grow it. This was because it had to be grown in locations no longer accessible to local native population. They could not leave the reserves without a permit, and also they were forbidden to grow their own tobacco. To compensate for the loss, the government began a program of allowing natives to gain access to tobacco by issuing special permits to the population. However, the commercially grown tobacco was treated with other substances which caused it to become addictive and potent. This was done to prevent those who used tobacco for ceremonies from growing their own. Widespread use of tobacco among natives did not start until commercial tobacco was introduced to them as part of their rations. With the introduction of the government-run residential school system, it ruined our way of life physically, mentally, and even threatened our spiritual values. The tobacco cutting ceremony is one which has been greatly affected by the forced assimilation of an alien belief into our beliefs and values. At best, little is known of the greater significance this ceremony holds. Thus, many of our people have forgotten how the ceremony is done. The residential school system took children away from their homes and a way of life to a foreign culture which did not address their culture as being important. A child would not be in contact with their roots from the age of 5 to 16, and it was this area of separation which caused many to lose their cultural identity. While at these schools, the children were taught that their way of life was inferior and their spiritual values were a form of satanic and even demonic form of religion. Those that persevered were the ones who carried on the culture. Thus, some parts of our spirituality remains. What the residential schools also did was to force the children to learn to hate each other and those who carried on our culture. Many of our spiritual leaders were forced to abandon their callings and therefore had to perform ceremonies in secret, thus causing a loss of knowledge of how these ceremonies were done. Not only was our way of life affected, our language suffered. As a result, the meanings of some words was lost to many. I was very fortunate because my grandparents took the time to teach me the language, and therefore I was able to understand them in the areas of these ceremonies. At the residential schools, the use of our language was not an option, as many of the priests, nuns, and teachers would punish those who spoke our language. When contact with Europeans was made, our culture and traditions were on a level which was in harmony with nature and the Creator. Our ancestors were able to heal the sick and were given blessings which enabled them to communicate with the Maker directly. In return, they praised and worshiped in ceremonies and rituals outlined by the Creator. They thanked the Maker for all the blessings that they received, and one of the major ceremonies was the tobacco cutting ceremony. Let us examine the tobacco cutting ceremony and the importance of this ceremony. Tobacco leaves, after being harvested, are dried on a rack made of willows and smoke cured using Saskatoon berry tree leaves until it is brown in color. Then it is carefully stored where no other substance will come in contact with it. Usually it is wrapped together and hung on a pole till it is dry. Then the next phase of curing begins, and it is soaked in a container of water overnight, and then 3 or 4 leaves are twisted together and dried. This is called twist tobacco. Kaksin then is collected and dipped into the container where the tobacco leaves were soaked, and then it is smoke cured with the twist tobacco. After curing, they are placed together and are ready till needed for a ceremony. The finished supply has a rich, sweet aroma, and this is achieved because of the guksin and Saskatoon leaves. Most of the elders choose the mountain juniper or guksin. It's because, it's more of a sweet smell to it. The aroma is better than the ones that are out in the prairie. So they prefer going to the mountains to pick it. And the best time to pick it is in midsummer. And it's that time of the year where the smell is stronger. And when you mix it with the tobacco and it's smoke dried, and the aroma is extra sweet. It's not like sweetgrass or sage. Usually the one who grew the tobacco is the keeper of supplies until he gives it to those who need it. And only this person and his descendants are the ones who have the right to grow and harvest the tobacco. The purpose of the tobacco cutting ceremony is to make a peace offering to the Creator when needs and blessings arise. When a ceremony is needed for a reason, the host announces to the people that he is having a tobacco cutting ceremony. All elders are invited, along with medicine men and women, and also those who need prayers for commitments or promises. Then a pipe holder is found, as only certain individuals have the right to own and carry a pipe for this ceremony. Close relatives and friends are encouraged to sit with the host, as he is the main focus of the ceremony. These people sit with the host, and also a person is found who will do all the physical work of the ceremony, and this person is usually a close friend or a fellow member of the host's affiliation. At this point, before entering with the medicine pipe, the person who is carrying out the physical work will be the one that's going to be stopping at the 4 directions. In every direction from the south, west, north, and east will plant a bit of tobacco to the ground to give thanks for this ceremony that's about to happen. When they finish their last song at the east, the entrance into the lodge, they bring in the pipe to the pipe holder, and then the rattle owners with their bundles, and they carry them behind the medicine pipe holder. And then they're seated to the left of the host, the one that's going to do the tobacco cut. And each bundle owner that has a rattle, they sing their songs appropriate to their bundle. Some might have at least 12 to 18 songs. And each song pertaining to their bundle. And this is why, it takes all night for them to do this tobacco cutting ceremony. The helper keeps a fire burning outside and brings in hot coals to be used in the smudge as directed or as needed. When they're singing, the host, the one that's doing the cutting of the tobacco, will start cutting the tobacco so that there will be enough pile for them, to distribute after the ceremony. After the bundles are all open, and now we go into the tobacco cutting ceremony itself. The first two songs are to ask for blessings over the tobacco that is about to be cut. And then the host announces the reason for the gathering, and everyone is given some tobacco to hold in their hands. While the announcement is being made, they lift up the tobacco to the Creator for blessings. Berry soup is distributed by the helper to the elders, bundle holders, and all guests. Prayers are spoken, and the berry is returned to the earth as an offering. The next two songs are for the filling of the pipe with tobacco, which is lit. And as these songs are being sung, the pipe is handed to the elders who smoke and lift up the smoke to the Creator. At the same time, everyone is praying for loved ones and for their reasons for coming to the ceremony. When the fourth song is finished, the carrier brings in the sacred bundle and places it at the head of the dwelling, which is the center opposite the doorway or entrance. Then the ceremony is begun. The twist tobacco and the kuksin is cut into two separate piles. As prayers are being said, the host lifts the tobacco and kuksin to the Creator and buries some of it into the ground to ensure future growth and prosperity and blessings from the Creator. After this, they are mixed together and the pipe is refilled with the newly mixed tobacco, and the host and elders each smoke from the pipe. And then the rest of the people are allowed to smoke from the pipe. At this point, a call is made to all who are in attendance to come forward with their reasons for coming to the ceremony. Some ask for healing, direction, commitments, and in general for a blessing from the Creator. The doctors are directed by Spirit to some who need healing, and others are given direction on the spiritual aspects of life. Because there is a strong outpouring of belief, the prayers are carried in the smoke to the Maker, who provides solutions. Each person is given a chance to state their commitment or promise. This is continued throughout the night and into the morning. When the ceremony is over, an offering is made to the Creator and placed on a hill, and some of the tobacco is placed with it. The remainder of tobacco is distributed among the people who came. This tobacco is carried in a pouch, and some is placed inside the entrance of the dwelling so that evil spirits are kept out of the home. The tobacco is smoked by the elders in their own ceremonies, and only those who have been given sacred bundles or visions are allowed to smoke. The younger generation is not allowed to smoke till they have reached the level of an elder or medicine man or woman, and only at ceremonies where prayers are being offered. It must be understood that our ancestors were aware and afraid of evil spirits and the occult. They believed that all sickness was due to evil spirits and curses, and that is why they constantly carry pouches containing tobacco. This tobacco was used as what today's Christians refer to as holy water, holy oil, and other items to use as a point of contact to God. The tobacco was this point of contact when making and seeking the approval of the Creator. It also had its medicinal use, as it was the basis of most remedies for illness, ranging from sore joints to toothaches. A pinch of tobacco at the four directions and at the doorway of a home was offered to the maker to protect the home and those who resided within, and included any visitor. Daily prayers were said in the morning, midday, and before sunset, and tobacco was the point of contact as an offering of a pinch was made to the Creator. Other uses of the tobacco cutting ceremony included the commitments made by individuals for a purpose. Young people reaching maturity were offered to the Creator through the ceremony and were given a pouch to carry tobacco for protection. It ensured a long and productive life. When a person sought to communicate with the Maker, he would go through the ceremony and be assured of a positive outcome for his quest. When a mate is sought for a man or woman, the ceremony would be the starting point, as the marriage was sacred and a proper mate would be found who was chosen by the Creator for the man or woman. Children were given to the guidance of the Creator to lead a spiritual and prosperous life, and were under the protection of the Maker through the use of the tobacco cutting ceremony. Our ancestors' faith in the source of life enabled them to live in harmony with nature and with each other, and be adaptable to situations and changes. This is not fully understood by those who come into contact with this way of life. Our natural existence is the creation of the source of life, and we must be able to live within the guidelines set forth by Him. We must also not forget His love for us and follow the path He has set for us. All prayers start with, O Father, He who is the source of life, Creator or Maker of us. So the abuse of tobacco is now we see it everywhere. So this is why we're making this video, so that we can bring back the true meaning of what this tobacco is all about, and how it was properly prepared, and the performance of the ceremony, and also, you know, the contact between the Creator and the person himself, to have us that proper connection so that we can have that the identity that we lost back then, and the dignity and the respect that we can slowly regain it by rightfully performing this tobacco cutting ceremony, and also, to have our youth know that what they're using, this addictive cigarette they're holding in their fingers or in their mouths, is so wrongfully used today.